every vector that we work with has two parts, one being a vertical component and one being a horizontal component. And here's a vocabulary word, the component form of a vector. Component form of a vector can be found by subtracting the terminal or the initial from the terminal. So what we're looking at is going to be the terminal minus the initial. So subtracting the initial end from the terminal end is terminal minus initial. So I want to look at this both geometrically and algebraically. Here we've got 2 points, and I want to find the component form of a vector. So let's start by looking at this graphically. So the point -3, -3 is out here. That's my initial point. My terminal point or my ending point is at the point 3, 1. So I'll draw our vector right there. And there's my vector geometrically on the coordinate plane. Here I have my initial, and here I've got my terminal. Now I want to analyze this geometrically. So if I'm going to look at this geometrically, I want to look at the horizontal component and the vertical component separately. So starting with the horizontal component, how much horizontal movement do I have from the starting point to the ending point? And if I look at this, right there is going to represent my horizontal movement. I go from -3 for my initial point, and I go to +3 for my ending point. So -3 for my initial, +3 for my terminal are my x-coordinates. So if I look at that, this is my horizontal component. And I can see from -3 to +3, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. And then I can do the same thing vertically. So there's my vertical component. And I can see that this is 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So horizontal component is 6 units, vertical component is 4 units, is what I see based off of my geometry. Let's confirm that using our algebra skills. So we said right here the component form of a vector is going to be terminal minus initial. So we'll go with our horizontal component first, which is the x pieces. It's going to be terminal minus initial. So terminal minus initial. So my terminal x is 3. I'm going to subtract my initial, which is a -3. 3 minus a -3 is 6, which is what I came up with right there. My vertical, which is my y piece, terminal minus initial, so that would be a 1 minus the initial is a -3 in the y component, which is going to be 4. So our component form of a vector is this, 6, 4. The component form is put in this less than and greater than sign. So in your head you want to be thinking component form of a vector is going to be something in the xy form like that, where I've got the x and the y's in this less than and greater than sign. So this indicates 6 units horizontally, this indicates 4 units vertically. The next thing we want to look at is the component form. And actually we already talked about component form, it's listed right here. Component form is when we've put in the brackets right there. Next thing we want to look at is going to be the magnitude. And the magnitude of a vector, as I've already mentioned, has to do with the distance formula. And the nice thing about component form is that when we're working with component form, all we need to do is square the vertical component and square the horizontal component and add the two pieces together. The reason for this is this V1 and V2, we already did our x2 minus our x1 and our y2 minus our y1 here when we found the component form. So this right here is already made up of x2 minus x1. So all I need to do with the magnitude of the component form is square the horizontal and square the vertical. So if I'm looking at the magnitude here, it's going to be squaring the horizontal, and squaring the vertical, because I've already done the x2 minus x1 in the work up here. A unit vector, here's another vocabulary word, unit vector has a magnitude of 1, and a zero vector has a magnitude of 0. This is something we are going to be using left and right. Unit vector has a magnitude of 1. Ultimately, we're going to be breaking down all our vectors into unit vectors. So just be in the back of your mind, think unit vector, magnitude of 1. So we want to find the component form and the magnitude of the vector from the point 2, -4 to 5, 7. So right now I've got two ordered pairs on the coordinate plane. And I want component form, which is going to be in the form of this less than and greater than symbol. So we've got to find horizontal component and vertical component. So first, my horizontal component, we're going to subtract our terminal minus initial. So once again, terminal minus initial. So my x's, 5 minus a 2 is going to be 3. Then I'm going to have my vertical component, which is going to be 7 minus a -4, which is 11. So my component form of a vector is going to be 311. Now, since I've already done my x2 minus x1 and my y2 minus y1, the magnitude is easy to find. The magnitude is the square root of the horizontal piece squared plus the vertical piece squared. So the horizontal piece is 3, the vertical piece is 11. So 9 plus 121 is going to be the square root of 130.